Welcome to a moderately good podcast. I am Scotty, your host. I've been the host the whole time. They haven't fired me yet. And before I get started, I want to do some quick shout outs. Shout out to my camera guy extraordinaire. He does all this stuff. I go through it every time. Figure it out. Get on his Instagram. His Instagram is Above Average Joe Pro. Taking great pictures. He's doing a lot of traveling, taking pictures of that. That's cool. See my friend on the side of a mountain. Next guy I want to shout out to is my guy Hunter. Go to www.youngoctober.com. That is his site where my man has a clothing line. He's doing some cool stuff. Very Kanye West stuff of him. It's very cool. Not saying he's copying Kanye. Kanye's weird. He's wearing ski mask at basketball. And last but not least, my friend Mo and his Go Bubble app is a mobile detailing app, something like Uber or Uber Eats, something like that. They bring the car wash to you. So you get on the app and then you can get a detailer come detail your car. Yeah. So I am here with my not so good friend. We were actually just talking about this before, that we've only met one other time, and you're kind of a friend of a friend. And
some would say an acquaintance, I think.
And so, and he said he was excited, so I'm going to assume he's excited. This is my guy, Logan. Logan, how's it going, man?
It's going good, man. Stoked to be here.
Yeah.
Happy you invited me over.
Yeah.
It's an awesome setup you got going on here, man.
Thank you, sir. I feel like that everybody probably thinks I pay everyone to say that because, like people have given like compliments and they're probably like, it's not that cool. And then people get here and they're like, oh, it's that cool. I'm like, yeah. What else am I going to do?
Yeah, I'm not just going to set this up in some cave and some, some random backyard or something. No, this is awesome. You have, how long did it take you to collect all of these? Are these record covers here?
Yeah, but that's eBay.
Oh,
you get on eBay and you buy them in lots.
Gotcha.
But the cool part is like when they come in like in a box, like because there's no records in them, they just send you the covers, and it's kind of like you're opening a giant pack
you're
of
just
like baseball
buying the
cards.
covers.
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't know there was a market for this where you're just buying out. Whoa.
Yeah. We can talk eBay prices and things all day. Like, you know what I mean? You can talk cryptocurrency and I'll tell you the ways of eBay. Like I'm all over eBay. eBay fascinates me. It's the things that people find value on that you don't even know that you have in your house that are like worth something.
I've never bought anything off eBay for some reason. Like
it's still sketchy to you after all this time. It still feels
sketchy after all this time. I was just like, I remember growing up as a kid, I had, I think it was my uncle. He got screwed over on eBay. Like someone never sent the stuff. And I was just like, lesson learned. No, not going to get me. Hey. Not going to get Logan.
You know what's funny is I feel like everybody that has a grudge against eBay, either they didn't get their stuff one time or somebody they know didn't get their stuff one time. And they're like, yeah, I heard about this one time when this guy didn't get his shit. I'm never using eBay. I'm like, have you ever fucking used Amazon? Have you used any other service?
It's always at least like 2 or 3 people away, huh?
Yeah,
something like
I mean, you know what I mean? It's like the circle like Kevin Bacon with like eBay stories. I don't know. So, well, since like, so quick background. We met through a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
And we all kind of went to brunch. This is pre, all the stuff.
I remember because everyone was having a good time. That's how I knew it was before COVID.
Yeah. And we were just out. And it was wild.
People were dancing and talking to each other. It was great.
We were drinking, like eating tacos outside. I mean, it was crazy times. And then, we kind of tried to like get you to come out on the lake and then COVID kind of happened and stuff like that. And so, how you doing, man? Like, how's it going?
I'm good, man. Life is, just getting on with life here. Just, trying to experience it all. I feel like everyone's just like work is crazy right now. That's like everyone's response.
And what do you do for a living?
I do structural engineering.
Okay, what does that mean besides you're really smart?
So that
besides like
doesn't mean
smart.
that at all. But pretty much like I would imagine it like an architect designs like what the building would look like, and I would go in and make sure that everything within the building is reinforced in such a way that can handle the forces that are put on it.
Wow.
So like long story short, I make sure stuff doesn't fall down.
So like is this something like you were interested in as a kid? Like, did you build badass tree houses or something?
Not really. Like, so my father's a concrete contractor in Livonia, my hometown.
And by the way, we're both from really small towns. And so, yeah, so we'll probably end up talking about it at some point.
We'll get to it at some point. I love talking about the dynamics. So we'll get there.
Yeah. I love talking about the dynamics of like leaving, like just the whole process of leaving, and then nobody ever does.
Well, yeah. There's leaving, but like even if you leave, like you still have like you undoubtedly have like family members or like friends who are still there. So like you always have like these ties back, and you're going back and forth and like comparing the disparity of it's
like some Kenny Chesney song comes on, you're like, oh my god, I miss my hometown. That's what it feels like sometimes.
Wow.
Anyway, so you're from Livonia.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Do we want to go into the Livonia part, or do we want to stay on the structural engineering?
Yeah, let's stay on structural engineering. We'll come back. We'll come back to small town.
Okay, where was I at with the structural engineering?
We're just talking about
how I got into it.
Yeah.
So my father he did concrete contracting, so I was always around that, and I'd always just been good at math and science, and it just always like made sense to me. And so I felt like I think about this a lot. Like I felt like I was funneled into it, and then eventually like I was like, oh, I'm here, but I realized that I really do. I'm very passionate about it. It like at the end of the day, it really is just kind of problem solving, where it's like you have demand and you have your capacity, and you're trying to figure out ways to make the capacity more than the demand, and you're just kind of like given like a set of parameters of like, hey, this is what we're trying to get to. This is what you can't change. This is what you can change. And then it's kind of like a game. You're trying to reorganize and just like understand everything to where, like I said, capacity is greater than demand.
So just in case there was like younger kids like listening, which I don't know why your parents would, but you're listening now. So just like put your phone down or stop doing two things at once and then just listen to what this guy has to say. So if you were trying to sell me on what's the cool shit about what you do, like that you find that's really like it's like when you, I don't know, like when you talk about something that sounds impressive, or like what's a cool reason why we would get into structural engineering? Because I gotta assume that like probably if kids are like good at certain types of video games, they would fall into these like categories, or they really like math, but they're like, well, math's not fucking cool. You know what I mean? So, like, what's cool about structural engineering?
So I mentioned problem solving before, but like what I personally really enjoy is
gambling in Vegas.
I do enjoy that.
Is that help?
It helps have a good time. It doesn't help for engineering. But the older I get, the more I realize like I like knowing how just things work. And so, and with engineering, it's like this, the world, these materials, your beams, your columns, like they don't give a shit what anyone thinks. They have a capacity, they have their properties, they have their shape, and they don't care. And, it's really unaffected by people's opinion. It's just like, hey, this has to work. And so I like how it's really unaffected by people's opinions, although there's some subjectivity that can go into designing something, but we won't get into that. So I enjoy that aspect, and just understanding how the world works. Like it kind of becomes like this game where like we're here on this earth and we're still trying to discover like, okay, we understand, the weight of this thing. Okay, now we're learning how forces distribute. Now we're just learning the laws of physics, and we're still like uncovering them and like ways to hack them, like as we go along as a society, and then we're able to like manipulate these to our benefit. And so that's something like I think is really cool, is that we're somewhat like we're hacking the laws of physics, or we're using the laws of physics to our benefit. And that aspect I find very cool.
Feels like a superpower.
Somewhat, yeah. Well, I think Elon Musk had like a tweet or a quote that I read where he was like, engineering and science is the closest we'll get to magic. And I think that's like it's a very like honest, like it's a true statement. Like, you have to say, like, it's kind of obvious, but sometimes whenever you sit back and it just kind of hits you, like, yeah, like this is, if someone back in like the 1200s you pull out like a Bluetooth ear tooth, you're like, hey, or a Bluetooth headphone, and you're like, hey, you're just about to hear just some random noises, and it's going to come from this little thing. Like, I'm going to go over here and talk. You're going to hear my voice in your ear. Stuff like that, where, back then they just wouldn't comprehend it. It would be magic. It would be sorcery. And that's what we're doing. Like, do you ever think about that? Do you ever just sit back and it just blows you away?
I mean, right now I am. I didn't think about it before. Like, I was just like, whoa, like that's heavy.
Yeah, like we would all just be like these like we would all be burned at the stake if we went back to like, you know, medieval times and we were doing the things we're doing right now. And then, you know, if we brought this technology with us.
So what happens if like some aliens just like drop down from the sky and they have like this technology, like, you know what I'm saying? Like what if that happens to us? Like somebody's, you know what I mean?
You're saying like how would we react to like someone else showing up?
To us right now? Like
burn them at the stake.
Get out of here,
get
weirdos.
Out. You know, it's like a funny
I don't want to
thought.
progress that fast. I already had the iPhone.
I thought about aliens like growing up, and like you know, like we have the thought like, oh, what if we encounter them? And like, well, like what if we encounter them and they're just like idiots? Like they just don't know what they're doing. Like we have to show them how to do stuff.
Well, I mean, nobody's written a movie where like the aliens come down and they're like dumb as shit. And then we just put them to work at all the shitty jobs.
Oh, we just enslave them?
Yeah. Like nobody's wrote that movie yet. Why not? Like, I mean, like, I think
we've had that movie already through like human history, like several times.
Well, I mean, but we don't know them. They came to our Earth.
Fair.
Like, we were all here first. Everybody gets one. I don't know. Wasn't the problem with iRobot, and then they had personalities or something. Remember how they didn't have personalities, and then they figured it out.
All of a sudden they did, and they had like their laws of robotics.
That movie, man, that movie trips me out. Will Smith does not like robots at all.
I haven't seen that movie in years.
I like Will Smith.
Well, who doesn't? Like, who's like Will Smith? Like, he's on my hit list. I hate that guy. Who is that?
I feel like Will Smith is just like he's just nice. Like it's just I can't like I feel like he's too nice. Like he's probably too nice.
I could see someone looking at Will Smith and being like, "This fucker's hiding something."
This is the way I feel about it, and like I don't have any proof of this and stuff like this. And I think I'm saying a really nice thing. So it, like, how does Will Smith get himself into the predicament he did with his wife? He's too nice. He's too nice of a guy.
Like, oh yeah, you can totally do that. Like I support
cool.
you. Yeah, you're
I'll
great.
sleep in another room. Yeah, I totally trust you. Like it's fine. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
that's when it goes wrong. That's the price you pay.
Yeah. I'm just saying. He's just too nice. He's probably too nice of a guy. So
Will, if you're listening, like there's just some things that you might want to reevaluate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Will's gonna listen, but you know, yeah.
You never know.
I mean, you never know. I mean, I'm saying great things about Will Smith.
Oh, we love him for sure.
I mean, that was the initial statement: is everybody loves Will Smith.
How did we get here? Like we were talking about engineering. And science
this is where I go, man.
I love it. I love
hang
the rabbit
on.
hole.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. Did we cover every? Well, I mean,
I think we covered plenty of engineering that like people want to hear.
So basically, what you're selling me is the cool part of this particular engineering is math.
Well,
that's not what I was looking for. I was like a lot of chicks. Like, I mean, like
not a lot of chicks. Okay. And we need more though. Women in STEM, we need it. Okay. Cause women are just smarter than men for the most part. Okay.
They're definitely more clever.
There's just some common sense in there that like men just don't have. And I think we could use that in STEM. Well, I know we could use that in STEM.
Yes. But I mean, you know, she might get you out. Like, you know what I mean? Then you're like, you flirt with her and then she's like sexual harassment and then you're like, out of here.
No, I doubt that. Then again.
Sorry, I made that totally awkward. It'll be fine. So you're from Lavernia, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so roughly how many people live there?
So, well, it's weird because Lavernia has like its city limits, but everyone lives just outside of those city limits. So like no one really knows like how many people are there, or at least like if you look like population still says like 1,067 people. Like I always just gauge it by like my high school. So it was the old system. So we were a 3A high school. Mm-hmm. My graduating class was like 210 or 215 people, which is the largest one yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's about the size that helps you like kind of gauge it.
See, my graduating class was like 82.
Okay.
But we had more people. So I don't know what that means.
Well, we probably had more people. They were just living right outside the town because it was just outside San Antonio.
Yeah, they all fill into that school.
So everyone lives in these big subdivisions just outside of the town, which is where my dad got a lot of his work. He'd be doing foundations for a lot of these houses, these big subdivisions. And people would send their kids to Lavernia, but then they'd commute and work in San Antonio because it was only like 30 minutes away. So that's kind of the breakdown. So yeah, we probably did have a larger population, but it was never posted on the sign when you're driving into Lavernia because everyone's just outside those city limits.
Right. And so, you played football in high school?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And were you good?
Yeah, I was good.
I mean, you can be boisterous about. I mean, you know what I mean? Like if you're good, you're good.
No, I was fine. I was like an all district kind of guy, and you know, I did a bunch of. It was a smaller school, so like I got to do a ton of like sports and activities. Like I did like football, track, golf. I did debate, art, like all that stuff. I was able to do because you know there wasn't that many people to do it.
Yeah. That was the best part about going to like a small town is like there's not a lot of competition.
Well,
like it's just like if you
get to try everything. They're like, listen, we need so many people to fill the team. Like, just come out. You'll probably make it.
Like did y'all never had to try out for anything, right?
There were a few like I remember
like basketball.
Yeah,
just basketball.
Basketball was pretty much the only one because there were like 10 guys and we got to cut it, guys.
Yeah, we got to give it some people. But every other sport is like just like how many people can we get?
Show up, yeah,
because like I mean you can never have enough. Because I mean, it's slim pickings.
And then like track,
like
coaches are just like grabbing people out of hallways. Like we need someone to just run these hurdles. And you're like, that's not even safe to make this kid run hurdles. But nope, just grab them and just throw them in the burner, whatever it is.
People ask me, they're like, because I work out. Apparently, like now I had to play sports in high school, and like I was an art kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so like I played sports, but I sucked at them.
What was like your go-to sport? Like what was your sport?
That's what I'm telling you. Like I sucked at all of them. Like my go-to sport was like basketball because I could fill up space and like foul people and like just be big because I was tall. I was already this tall in high school.
That was my we're not like very skilled basketball players, but like we knew our role. We were like, we're gonna play some good defense. We're going to get some fouls, and we're going to get some turnovers.
It's like some fucking Hoosier shit.
My mom was like, if you foul out of the game, I'm going to cheer you on. So like, she was like, that's your goal, just to foul out of this game.
So, I mean, because I know a little bit, Logan, obviously building up. So, something you did that I find very interesting, and I just wanted you to talk about the process of it, is you walked on at UT, right? So, I just want you to talk about like, how tough was that? What were the challenges? Like, what were your expectations? How was it coming from high school? Like all those kinds of things. So if maybe like somebody's listening and they're thinking they're going to go play college sports, it's one thing to get a scholarship. It's another thing to like walk on and like that what goes through that. So it would give maybe kids an idea of what that is like, you know?
Yeah. So first off, I'd say like if you genuinely enjoy sport and you feel like you have some talent in it, like, and you're going somewhere, like try and walk on. Cause my mom was the first one to pitch it to me. She was like, why don't you try and walk on a UT? And I was like, you're fucking crazy. I was like, that'd be just a waste of my time. I don't want to do that. And then
so why were you so against it?
I was like, I'm just not that good. I was like, let me just go to college and I'll just do engineering and like, I'll be a college student. And
you had gotten into UT.
Yeah.
Like you were accepted.
Yeah. I was like, I'll just go to UT. Like, I know I'm going to do civil engineering. I'll go into that. And then, I'll just be a college kid. I'll figure it out. And, but she was like, well, at least try out. And my coach, Coach Bo, in Lavernia, he actually played at UT. And so he's the one who really convinced me to do it. And so I was like, fine. Like,
had he walked on maybe?
No, he was a scholarship guy. He was scholarship.
Still, I mean, yeah. But that would have been like a Rudy story. Been like, like I walked on. It's like, I don't know. I was just checking. I thought that'd be
he's like, just go ahead and try it out, Logan. I was like, fine, like I'll do it, but like y'all are really dumb for making me do this. And I show up and we didn't touch a football during the tryout. First off, I showed up. They're like, hey, practice is going to finish up. Like come afterwards. And we went to the bubble, which if you're familiar with Austin, like, we have a practice facility. It's the bubble. And he was like, show up outside of there. So I showed up and he was like, you see way down there. He's like, there's Aaron Ross on the wall. He said, it was about 200 yards away. He's like, y'all are going to go run and touch him. And then you're going to run back and you're going to keep doing that until I say to stop. And so we were just doing like these 400-yard sprints until we were dying. And then he was like, okay, now do push-ups. Made us do like 100 push-ups. Like, okay, we'll do up downs. I will warn you. Go ahead.
Really quickly, did you mention who this is? Who's the coach that you're working with?
Oh, sorry. This was whenever I walked on, the strength coach was Benny Wiley.
Oh, shit.
Who's now the strength coach at Oklahoma.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
That guy's a monster.
He's an intimidating person.
Hey, look, if you want something cool to look at, just get on YouTube and Google that dude. I mean, he's insane.
He's an intense human being. Okay.
Like he's Wesley Snipes. What's that movie? Wesley Snipes the vampire. Like Blade. Yeah, like that's the best. I don't think the dude sleeps. Like he's like I work out with all my groups. And I was like, God damn.
He works out with every group. He's always wearing like these like heavy sweats. He's sweating through it. And so yeah, you don't have like an excuse like not to do stuff.
No, ain't nobody working that dude. And how old is he?
Oh, he must have like turned 40 whenever I was on the team.
Okay, well, I mean, fuck.
So he's like, now he's probably like, well, I hope he doesn't listen to this. He's probably like mid 40s, 45, 46, I'd have to guess.
That was worse. Like he's my age. Like I couldn't do that shit.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, RIP my confidence.
Yeah, so he's just ordering us around and like, I'm looking around like, are we going to touch a football? No. He was literally trying to run people off the team. And so,
so you like strategy wise, you could have just kind of not like huffed it, but like, I mean, you could have gone like, just good enough to seem like you cared. Mm-hmm. And then everybody just balls out and then like they just walk off and then you kind of like, could you have done that?
Wait, sorry, can you repeat the question?
So like, I'm assuming he brings y'all out there and everybody's going to go balls out.
Yeah.
But you're just saying it's just like whoever lasted, right?
Yeah.
So if you kind of just like went fast enough that he kind of didn't catch on, but this really didn't go all out, you know what I mean?
There was definitely like in your head, like when he was like, okay, like go run there, run back. And whenever he says to do it again, like there's a flip that switches in your head where you're like, this might not be the last one. And so it's like you're already like trying to, you're trying to regulate yourself.
Totally. Yeah. Anyways, okay. So y'all getting run to death.
Getting run to death. And then, he says do up downs. And yeah, let me warn, if you are going to walk on, from my experience, you're going to do a lot of up downs in your day. That was just,
go ahead and start practicing them now.
Just practice them now. Just hit the ground with your chest and get up. Just do that. Like at least one time during a workout, Benny Wiley, he just gets on the mic. He goes, hey, every walk on in this room, and we all just peek our heads up. He goes, do 100 up downs for being a walk on. And we just had to stop what we were doing in the middle of a workout and do up downs.
Wow.
But that being said, so I mean, really, like, and I understood that their thought process. They were like, hey, we don't want anyone but because apparently at one point they had some people who walked on, and then and they'd won the national championship, and as soon as they won, they kind of they skirted and they left with their rings, and so they wanted to make sure anyone who was going to be on the team was pretty devoted to be there. Which I can say, like, the guys who did make it were.
You included.
Me included, yeah. I was, yeah. For sure.
So what was your experience like doing that, going to school, like just speak to like the load and like everything that goes on around it.
I'll tell you what, once you cut out like sleep and the social life, you have a ton of time to do football in school. Yeah, you have all the time in the world. It was definitely tough. Cause like you would, you'd have 6 a.m. workouts, your day was blocked off from like 6 a.m. to probably like 7 p.m. most days. And, you're just trying to, and then you'd have like downtime. And so my trick was, hey, if I ever have any downtime, like I got 30 minutes between meetings, I got 45 minutes from lunch before I got to go to this lift or something. I was like, I'm going to knock out homework. I'm just going to, whenever I have spare time, I'm going to knock it out. And that was a big part of like me having like somewhat of a social life, because I just knock stuff out like while I was waiting around for stuff. But as far as like the time commitment, like, and for a walk, so I really didn't travel that much. But like for someone who like during the season, your scholarship or walking guy, your travel squad, like that's your whole week. I have so much respect for those guys who are able to. I mean, because you're literally, like I said, you're blocked out from 6 to 7. We would get weekends off if it was an away game. The non-travel squad, we loved away games. We'd be like, oh, like I get to go do something this Saturday. I mean, yeah, of course we'd watch the game. But we're like, we get to go like do our own thing.
Yeah.
But like those guys, like, and then they don't get back home till like 2 or 3 a.m. sometimes, 4 a.m. And then it's like, hey, show up on Sunday at 2 p.m. Like we got film. You're there until 8 o'clock, team dinner, go home. And then I think we'd get Mondays off. That was like our day off where they're like, you don't need to come into the building. Wink, wink. You should probably come into the building though.
God damn. I mean, so it's like a job, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much a job. And where was I going with this?
No, you were just kind of like talking. You were speaking to what it was like to do both.
Yes, there's a big time commitment, and then like a lot of the times like you're just tired,
right?
You don't necessarily want to do stuff, but like you're also like surrounded by a bunch of people doing the same thing. So you're like, well, if this guy's doing it, like I can do it. You know what I mean? So you're kind of like pushed with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, I mean, yeah, it's a big time commitment, but like those are some of the best relationships I've ever had because you just spend so much time with each other.
It's kind of a fraternity of sorts.
Oh, it's very much a fraternity. Yeah.
Do y'all guys get together? Like, do you?
Oh, yeah. Like, so like, especially like walk-ons too have like a special bond.
Mm-hmm. Just overall?
Just
like,
overall, like if you're a non-Scally guy, you're gonna
have like a Facebook page together or something.
Like I have a group of guys, like we get together every Christmas, we go out, we go camping together.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we just drink, tell old stories, and then we part ways and see each other next year if we don't see each other in the meantime.
That's great.
Yeah. And so and just like my favorite, like what I take from it right now is just the camaraderie. Like people ask me like, what do you miss? I'm like, well, I miss the camaraderie. I miss just being with my guys. My favorite days were like non-travel squad on Friday mornings. We had a 6 a.m. workout. Those were my favorite workouts
because everybody's gone.
Just because I'm like,
did y'all get the weight room like to yourselves?
Yeah, the weight room was just us,
and the coaches are probably gone, right?
Yeah, so it's pretty much like us, like Benny Wiley's running us through, and then after that we're kind of like free to go. Mm-hmm. Until we got to show back up for, if it was a home game, then we'd be there for the home game. If there's an away game, we'd come back on Sunday. But then from there we were released. But just like me and my friends, you show up 6 a.m., you crush the workout, and then like you go to you go get breakfast at Red River Cafe or something. You just talk about how crazy the week was, practice was, how you think you're going to do. So like just the workouts, having breakfast with the guys afterwards, and just shooting the shit. Yeah, just like I said, just some real lifelong friends from that I.
How are you with your cell phone usage? Like, do you find yourself like on like social media a lot? Do you find yourself trying to like meet up with friends a lot? Like, based on what you're telling me right now, I would guess that you value like that personal, like meeting people and seeing people and being like not being online or not interacting through social media or texting or whatever. Like you want to be in presence of people, right?
Yeah, I very much like the face to face, and I try to whenever I am like talking to someone, like I try to like put my phone down, like if I sit down with you at a diner, like I'll take my wallet out, I'll take my phone out, and they're going to be set to the side. And if like someone goes off, like I'll look at it really quick and be like, I'm sorry about that. Let me put it on silent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm engaged, friend.
Yeah. And so I try to do a very similar thing. A lot of times I'm like just wearing like basketball shorts and stuff. And so like I don't want to lose it. And I'll put it like off to the side just to make sure I don't, and just kind of check it periodically. But I will say like, cause you have that wall, it looks like, what's this like, Samuel L. Jackson's wall, Pulp Fiction was like bad motherfucker. Is that your initials?
Yeah. So I got that from, so my godmother, she used to run THSCA, which is the Texas High School Coaches Association. Mm-hmm. And so you'd go and these schools would bring their decals there. And so I found a school with the initials LM, which is my initials, Logan Mills. Mm-hmm. And I took as many as I could, and I just started slapping them on everything, including my wallet. So I've had that thing since like high school.
So it's just like a decal?
Yeah, it's just a decal that
it looked like it was like tooled into the wallet. You've had it that long, I guess.
The bad motherfucker is inferred, actually.
Yeah. But anyways, the only reason I brought that up is because you left your phone outside the garage. You know what I mean? Like I have my phone on me just in case we want to film something. But okay. I mean, yeah. It's on
I was terrified of
it
going off. Even though no one ever texted me, I was terrified of it going off.
It don't matter. I feel like that Jason can edit all this stuff out, or Joe can edit one of them.
Thanks, Joe.
Shout out to Jason for helping me like with my audio. By the way, he'll hear this because he works on my audio.
Thanks, Jay, man.
So yeah, thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. So do you want to pull a question from the helmet? So every once in a while, I'll kind of just like whoop, and you can just reach in there.
All right.
And you can like mess them around.
Oh yeah, I'm going to find the right one. Don't worry. I'm worried that it's going to stump me. That's like my biggest fear.
No, there's no stumping.
Okay, it's just one.
No.
What book has influenced you greatly? How so?
This is so great because like the last, 5 podcasts I've done, somehow books have come up. Mm-hmm. And so there's this unofficial book club that I guess I'm doing or something. So do you have like
Well, I actually have a book series. I'm actually wearing a hat that's like about the book series.
Okay, this is great. So
this is great. This was not planned, folks. Okay.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, wink. The series is called Red Rising. It's like it's described as like a space opera. It's kind of like Hunger Games in space.
Okay.
So basically, like in the future, society has progressed and we've colonized all the planets, but they've decided to create kind of like a caste system of people, and your role is delegated by your color. The golds being at the top, and everyone's there's like golds who are like the warriors of society. At the very bottom, there's reds who are essentially slaves. They just like mine ore at the bottom of like Mars and stuff, and then like yellows are medics, purples are artists, and like everyone kind of has their own role. And it's about this red who my friends, like I'll do this all the time with my friends. So I'll just go off on a tangent and describe the whole book series.
But I mean, just a quick synopsis.
Sorry.
No. I mean, you can keep going.
So basically, it's about this red who like infiltrates the society and like tries to like knock it down and make everyone equal again. But that book series, it's by Pierce Brown. It's called Red Rising. Check it out if you're a sci-fi fanatic. I really enjoyed it. This hat is like the sigil of like the golds. And
is that who you identify with?
A little bit, yeah. They're not all bad, though. Okay,
but I mean, look, it's like if you're watching some movie and there's like slaves and you're identifying with them, that's not good. You should be identifying with the upper group. You know what I mean?
Shoot high, friend.
Like this is your fantasy. You know what I'm saying? So I have a question.
Yeah.
So in engineering, it's a lot of math, a lot of exact shit.
Yeah.
Right. And sci-fi is very like. I mean, not exact shit. It's made up, right?
Yeah.
So where does that connect for you? Like where does the interest of sci-fi meet the engineering part of you that likes math?
I actually wouldn't say that they necessarily meet. Like I'm able to just like forego to be like, oh, like the reality of this, like, does this work? Or, could I crunch the numbers? Like, would this make sense? No, I'm able to be like, you know what? Like, let's suspend this and let's just go into outer space.
Have you seen Ben Affleck in The Accountant?
I saw that movie once, like 3 or 4 years ago. But
okay, but you remember the part where he's like writing all those formulas on the glass, like on the fucking walls and
like,
shit?
Do I do that?
I just saw you watching sci-fi and you're on the glass. That shit can fucking happen.
Yeah.
You know,
there's no way they'd make it there.
But like some people like kind of struggle with that. Like like they're so black and white. They're so that everything has to be so black and white that being gray or kind of trying to be somewhere in the middle isn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's like so weird. I think about this where like, do you mean like you're kind of like caught up in like you're like I just see the world like this one way, or like everything has to make sense this way?
Yeah.
For me to like accept it.
Right.
No, I actually pride myself on like being able to just like jump out of that and be like, oh, nope, don't need that. Let's look at it through this lens and just accept it.
You're using the appropriate lens for what you're doing. You're not mixing up lenses.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what some people do. You know what I mean? They put this very serious lens on something that's not very serious, or vice versa, or whatever, So, yeah, I mean, you're just using the right lens.
Yeah,
it's called having a sense of humor also. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's called just enjoying something that's enjoyable. Like, just sit back. Like, there's no stress on this. You don't need to make something work or check it. Just enjoy the story and just sit back.
I've talked about this before. Erin is very much a person. She's very in the moment. And so it's really helped me start to appreciate moments. And that's also part of kind of like what happened with the podcast. It's like, wow, like I have trapped somebody in my garage for an hour and they have to talk to me.
I knew you locked that door.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's like one of those things where like, and it always seems to, it gives me a good energy. Like people seem to leave like feeling good. And I think that like, talking about before that you like going out in the public, you don't necessarily want to do like Zoom happy hours. You know what I mean?
No, not my thing.
You know what I'm saying? And so like, it allows you to have human interaction, which I think is really cool. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So I'm just trying to show that everybody's not crazy and weird. Like, look, I mean, like we're cool.
Yeah, but we're also crazy and weird.
Yeah,
with the right lens on, we are.
Yeah,
and that's cool.
But that's when we're watching sci-fi. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
We watch sci-fi with crazy weird lens. I'm gonna forget this lady's name. We'll put it in the little credit or whatever.
Okay.
There's a book and her name is Judith something, but it's called Surviving as an Empath. Are you familiar with this?
I've seen the cover of this book.
Yeah, it's like
but
orange.
I've never. Yes, I've seen it.
Yes. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think
How
so.
do you identify, or it seems like this has a profound effect on you. How do you?
I I think my downfall is that I can be too empathic.
Okay.
You know, you feel things too much.
Mm-hmm.
And not everything needs feeling.
Okay.
Like, there shouldn't be you shouldn't need to have like a feeling around the fact that you wanted a vanilla shake and then they gave you a chocolate. That shouldn't be something that invokes a feeling of being upset. It's just like, you just got the wrong shake.
Yeah.
Now, if you're allergic to chocolate or feeding it to your dog, that's one thing. But like, it's not that big a deal.
So when you say, maybe I'm not, so what is the difference between, you said the word empathic. What is the difference between that and empathetic?
So, empathic person is being empathetic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So it's like having empathy.
Yes. Okay.
Right? So,
but that's usually, that's usually you applying that to someone else, correct? Or am I thinking of this in a different way?
No. So like, but it's in the way of like, I remember having close friends and something would happen to them,
mm-hmm.
and I could feel it in my gut.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like I could just I feel sick.
Yes.
I mean, and that's different people have different levels of that,
mm-hmm.
and I know people that have more than that, which just like,
well, you're taking on everyone else's like emotional response, right? and probably projecting some of their emotions onto yourself in a sense, right? Like they might necessarily be feeling that, but you're projecting like, oh, they must feel terrible about this.
Yeah, and people you don't realize people are reading that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you're, and then you take that energy and contribute your own.
And if they're insecure and empathic, then they're taking it like, why is they so upset? And it's like, it just gets like kind of worse, and it builds this tension.
Yeah.
And you really have to like, in those kinds of moments, you really have to you have to kind of put set emotions aside and go like, okay, how can we communicate around this to like make this work? We just need to communicate this out. Like, it doesn't have to be personal. Like, I think before we started, I was like, no ego. Like, how little ego can you have? You know what I mean? Because, you don't get your feelings hurt if you don't think that you're the best thing that's since sliced bread. You know what I mean? If you just go like, hey, I'm just a regular person. I do regular things. There's not anything special about me. There's other humans around. You know what I mean? Like, if you just look at it like that, it's like, well, someone's not doing something to you. It's just something that happens in life. Yeah. Right?
I gotcha. I have I feel like I'm always held back by, I have this, and I could tell like I got it from my grandfather, but I have this perpetual fear that like I'm holding people back, or like I'm a burden of sorts. And like, that's something that like I can feel myself like if someone's like having to accommodate.
Give me an example.
If like for example, like if I'm showing up late and I'm holding up someone from going somewhere, I'm like the stress builds up in me. I can't. I'm rushing to get there. I mean, and then I show up and they're like, oh yeah, like we weren't going to leave for like 20 minutes. Like, you're totally fine. Like, it's not a big deal. And I have trouble. Like, I have to remind myself. I have to like sit back and be like, hey, like, just so you know, like, it's probably going to be okay. Like, you're not the first person to show up late somewhere.
Well, and not only that, but like, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're not the type of person that's late. You don't like to be late, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, it means you give a shit.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? And you're not saying like, hey, everybody wait on me. Right? You feel about it differently. Like, some people might walk in and like just not even really care that they were late to anyone. And it was like, well, we all had to wait on you. You come in and you're like, hey, I'm really sorry that you had to wait on me. And that's just recognizing that you're like, hey, I'm not trying to be an asshole.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's not even like worried that like I'm a burden. It's a fear that like people don't feel like seen or like respected by me, like just by like one move like that. You know what I mean? Like, if you show up and you're like, hey, you know, like let's go, and like the thought of like someone being like, well, this guy doesn't give a shit. Like, I'm like, no, I do. I care.
I think if you recognize that you're the type of person that's not late, then when you are late, you understand that your reputation, like the majority of the time, you're not late.
Yeah.
So being late one time doesn't, you know, you're batting 900. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you know, like if it becomes something habitual, then you can talk. Now we're having the conversation. You know what I mean? But like, if your overall character, I think probably anyone that knows you as this person. So, you know, if you're late, they're gonna be like, yeah, we don't, like, yeah, it's fine. You know what I mean? That's true. But it's the person that's always late that when they show up, you're like, you know, like, hey, we were gonna leave. Thanks. You know what I mean? But they're always late. Mm-hmm. And you shouldn't get mad at those people either. You should either A, don't invite them. Yeah. Or B, tell them a different time. And I don't think I totally condone that. Some people might call that lying. I call it getting people to show up on time that I know don't show up on time.
Well, it's one of those, like, if they show up late and you're like, I got you. Yeah. They're like, well, sorry, like, I accommodated to the way you are and you proved me right. Right. So you're welcome for being right. Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Wait, who do you do this to? Like, you seem like a pretty punctual person, are you?
Yes.
Okay.
But I have recognized that I am a punctual person, so there's no reason for me to worry about it. There's not.
I do this. I do that, but then I think, but how many times do you give yourself a pass? And then you wake up one day, you're the late guy. You've been late 5 times in a row.
You've been late 5 times in a row?
No, never.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So this is the type of person I am. Okay, the type of person I am is before I go to bed, I make sure my alarms are set.
How many alarms do you set?
I set 2. One is the slow wake up, whatever, on the iPhone. And then the other one is just a backup alarm in case I don't hear the slow wake up one because it starts off quiet and gets louder. But let me tell you something. I can hear my baby go, like 2 rooms over. Okay. So like I'm waking up. Okay. But I set 2 alarms and then I go to sleep because I know either A, I'm probably going to wake up automatically because I have to get up, crack of dawn, or B, my alarm's going to go off, or C, the baby's going to cry. Like, there's no chance of me not getting up. I would love to like oversleep and just be like, fuck, man, I'm glad that happened.
Bringing this back to football, I cannot tell you how many alarms I set so I didn't miss a morning workout and have to deal with Benny Wiley.
Well, I mean, I would have too. Like, I would have said,
I would wake up at like I wouldn't wake up to an alarm. I would just wake up at like 3 a.m. and be like, oh, I gotta go. Like, I would get dressed, walk out the door. One time, my roommate / best friend Peyton, I woke up at 12:30. We were in the dorms. I woke up at 12:30. I was like, it's time to go to work at 6 a.m. I gotta go. Threw my clothes on, walked downstairs, and I got to my bike, and then I looked. I was like, you don't even know what time it is. I looked. It's 12:30 at night. It's 12:30 a.m. I walk upstairs and I see Peyton. Peyton's just like laughing his ass off. He was just doing homework. I didn't even notice him. He had a light on doing homework at his desk. And I was just like, you motherfucker. You didn't say shit. I was pissed. And I just went right to bed. But that happened probably at least 10 or 12 times of just like, I would wake up, throw clothes on, run out the door before I even checked that it was an alarm that woke me up.
But you're not the kind of person.
I don't do that anymore. That was out of pure fear of
Benny Wiley.
Then also because, well, in football they get really fucked up with it. Where if you show up late, they punish everyone else, and then they we had one guy who would always show up late. I'm not going to say his name, Eddie, and we at one point Benny said, "Hey, you're going to sit, and they're going to form a circle around you, and they're going to do up downs for 2 hours, and you're going to count them for them." And we all pitied Eddie while we were doing the up downs. We were like, oof, that's a sucky place to be, huh? Get back up.
But, it's kind of one of those things like in that moment, like it's, you kind of mentioned that y'all were all kind of tight, or the group, like no ego. Right? No, like you just go like, hey, like fucking shit happens. You know what I mean? Like, hey, Eddie, like you're going to buy me some drinks this weekend, but like, other than that, like we're good. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, please don't let it happen again. Like can you try like a little bit hard? What do you need? What do you need us to do to help you? Help me help you. Kind of thing.
There were talks of like making him sleep in the locker room because it happened a couple times. We were like, listen, we got to nip this in the bud finally. We never made him do that, but it got better. But and also what's crazy is that was like an early point. Like that was within a few weeks of us like knowing each other. So like we weren't tight yet. Yeah. But now that is the story. Like I mentioned that we do our Christmas like get-togethers.
Yeah. He's always late.
No.
Guys, I'm on my way. I'm just wait.
That's where I'm going to be. Just start doing the up downs. I'll get there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Shoot, where was I going with this?
Sorry, it's Christmas when y'all go for y'all's Christmas.
Yeah, so that story always comes up. Like there's just no way. Like just there's a box, we check it off. Like the story is told.
So this is my suggestion for y'all this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do y'all have some there's some clowns in this group?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, can y'all keep a secret like from the rest of the group?
I think so. I think a few of us, yeah.
Y'all should put on a play.
Yeah?
Like a play of like reenact it, because if y'all talk about it every year, like I hope Eddie's listening to this. I guess it's busted, but like y'all should put on like a play, like just reenact the whole thing.
I like it.
I mean, what else are y'all doing?
Yeah, it honestly, this would be great because it's a great setting. We're always just drinking out by a campfire. Yeah. Like it's great lighting. We're just gonna reenact it.
Yeah.
And honestly, like no one else could play Eddie. We'd have Eddie play himself. And that might happen this year. I'm going to pitch it.
Yeah. I mean, if y'all are going to tell a story, y'all tell the story every year. Mm-hmm. Let's do something different. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, let's really spice it up.
Like, I don't know, play the secret game or something. Like, send it across, and then Eddie's hooking up with some girl in Mexico at the end of the story. It's way off on a tangent.
I have realized, and this is just a thing as you get older. Like people are grandizing these stories. Like there's little stuff being added.
Yeah.
Like each year, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I remember that part, but we're going to roll with it. It's a good story. It's a good story now.
I think, and that kind of speaks to, I've had a couple of my fraternity brothers on, and we've talked about like just the stories of our fraternity, like those stories. And of course you could tell them to anybody else and they're not funny.
Yeah.
But like to us, it's like, it's just it's that bond, it's those things and stuff like that. And, I mean, a good group of the guys that I was in a fraternity with, no offense, dudes. But I mean, like they're assholes. They just act like, but that's what guys just kind of do in a fraternity, and everybody's an asshole all the time. And, there's been recent stuff that really hurt one of these guys' feelings. And I keep telling him like, hey man, like y'all just go apologize to him. Why y'all being such dicks? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So if y'all are listening, and I really don't care, like go apologize to him. You know what I'm talking about. Go apologize to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I'm assuming if Eddie comes to your things, he's probably a good sport about it, right?
Oh, yeah. Eddie's one of the best sports about it. Yeah, everyone really is, because everyone's had this moment where either they were getting cussed out by a coach, or like they just end up getting screwed over. We call it getting squared. You're like, oh yeah, he got squared hard. I don't know why I mentioned that, but it's just a term I love.
That sounds like an engenering thing. I don't know, like you and the other two engineers.
And then if someone's like, if you're off to the side, like you see someone getting screwed over, you're just like, I'm squared.
That's great. Oh man.
But yeah, but everyone's like been like in that situation. Everyone can empathize and just laugh about it, because yeah. So everyone's like been vulnerable in that sense, where you just been totally, either like chewed out, disrobed, embarrassed, like in front of the whole group. And you just like, you're like, yeah, you're us. That's initiation. You're part of us.
But like, put it to this perspective. That's happened to like everybody in life.
Yes.
Right. In your life, you've been the person that was made fun. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you got really lucky, but I think
I'm the one actually who got out scot-free.
But I mean, I think everybody has had something happen to them. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about like having empathy, if you see somebody's having a shitty day already, like say there's a long line at Burger King, if you're there, and everybody's already yelling about don't be the next person who yells about the line. Mm-hmm. Like just say, hey, how's your day going? And she'll be like,
let's have a good time in this line while we're here.
Yeah. I mean, like, try to be just like kind when shit sucks, because it happens to everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, and that's another, you're talking about just being in the moment. It's like, well, what the fuck we can do here? Like, we might as well just talk, communicate.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing else to do, you know? I find it like my goal when situations happen like that is like, especially like, I don't know, like at a gas station or something where people are being assholes or whatever. Like my thing is like, I'm going to ask this gas attendant how her day's going and see if I can make her laugh. I mean, well, we're doing a stupid transaction here. Yeah. These last two dudes are upset about something. This guy's yelling about something. Shit's going like, at least I could do is kind of just make her laugh. Now it doesn't always work. People don't want to laugh. People sometimes don't want to laugh.
What's your batting percentage? Like if you had to guess, where you at?
I don't know. I'm over 50%.
That's for
sure.
Good.
But okay. I walk them up real good. You know what I mean?
What do you mean you walk them up?
So I'm always like, and what I mean by walk them up is just like, this interaction is not about me. It's about them.
Yeah.
I want to see if they're having a good day.
Well, you want to make them feel seen. You're like, hey, like this, you know.
Yeah. So like, you'd be surprised, like how many people you just go, they go, hello, sir. I'm like, hello. I go, hey, how's your day going? And they go, you're never going to believe what happened. And I'm like, what? You know, and then like, they just start telling you a story, you know what I mean? About, I don't know, their boss or something like that. You're like, whoa, shit. Like I just stepped right into that. And then some people are just like, fine. I'm like, okay, well, you know, yeah. Maybe just,
that's cool.
You know, just, I mean, you know, it's obvious they don't want to talk. Don't be like, what? You know,
you have to talk to me. Tell me about your day right now.
Right. You know what I mean? Obviously, they don't want to talk about it. And I just tell them thank you and I appreciate them or something, you know, try to be nice. Yeah. It's not that hard to be nice.
It's really not. Just to pose a question, even if like you don't necessarily care about the answer, be like, how's your day going? What are you up to?
Well, I mean, what you should care about the answer is that, you know, someone might say something to you that you've never heard or know.
Mm-hmm.
Like be open to the idea of like someone having a conversation with you that you never thought you would have before. Yeah. Because you made some dumbass snap judgment about somebody or whatever it is, right? Be open to the idea of like just interacting with another human.
Yeah, just to get a perspective from this different lens of society. Like this person obviously like has different experiences from you, or they had a different day than you. Like you might just see a different part of the day that you did not see.
It's kind of like, I want to make sure that my daughter travels.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't travel until like I was like in my like 30s.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even left. I forgot when I left the country. Like I hadn't left the country like till I was like 30 something.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so the first trip I went on was to China. That shit was wild.
Dang.
You know what I mean? Like that's a big trip. You know? And you just realize like how bad other people have it.
Mm-hmm.
Like ain't nobody, a lot of people in the U.S. have not seen problems.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like there are other places with like problems and like it just,
No, you're fine.
And it just sucks. It just sucks that people don't have a perspective of how good you kind of have it. You know?
Yeah. So that's a big part of it. Like for me, you know, and I, you know, I've traveled a bit, not a crazy amount, but I've just been out of the country a few times, and it's just to be reminded, it's very humbling just to remember, like, just be like, oh yeah, the world's fucking huge. I've only seen like this minuscule, like 0.0001% of it.
Yeah. And you think about that coming from Lavernia.
Yeah.
Right. Like, do you feel like you have a different perspective? Not to derail, but like,
no,
you feel like you have a different perspective coming from such a small town to doing all this other stuff, like to traveling overseas.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like, it's just an appreciation of like perspective from, you know, where I'm from. And then I go somewhere else and like, I try to be like, okay, well, like what's their daily life like? What are they doing? Like whenever I go somewhere, you know, what I really like to do is like, I just put some headphones in, put some music on, and just walk through the town, and just where just normal people are walking, grocery stores, eating, just walk through and just be like, well, what's a day like here? And just, you know, obviously like you'll never understand like, you know, what their life is like, but just, you know, I guess just having a feel for like what is their perspective?
You're being in the moment.
Yeah,
exactly. You're taking it all in.
Yeah.
Right.
Trying to take it in.
Yeah. Like that. I try to do that like with my daughter. I like, if I'm putting her to bed and she like falls asleep on my shoulder, I try to just take a minute and go, what does this feel like? Can you remember this feeling forever? Like, because it won't be forever. Like, you know, and so I'm trying to put that in my brain and store it away and go, you know, like if my girlfriend says, she's like, do you want another baby? I'm like, no, I have these memories stored right here. We don't need one.
Nope. I got to just go right back to there. Boom.
Got the, yeah, holding the baby.
Whenever you first,
I'm just kidding.
Whenever you first, I kind of think about this, how, you know, it's almost like not that our lives are scripted, but there are like these monumental moments in our lives, right? Like your first time you fell in love, first time you have sex, you know, the first time you hold your child. And then, you know, like, do you ever like when you held your child, we were like, oh, like I'm there, like that moment happened and I'm here. Like I'm at this point of my script that is my life. And this is what it feels like. And here I am.
It was about as awkward as the first time I had sex. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you think it, I don't want to make it sound like shitty, but this is my perspective on it. My girlfriend got to carry her for 9 months. Mm-hmm. So there's a certain level of connection they already have that I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Right. And so when she initially came out, like, I was kind of like, okay, like, this is like a babe, like, but what do we do? Like, you know, like, and you're just like, you know, and I feel like I'm older and I'm smart and I'm logical and stuff. And it's just like, I mean, there's no owner's manual. Like, it's just, you're like jumping like in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but Aaron had like a bond with her already that I kind of couldn't understand. And so it wasn't really until like about like 9 months later that like, I just like held her one time and I just like started like crying.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, it's such a weird, love, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's not a romantic love, but it's strong like a romantic love, but it's like this love for this little like human.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And you like, it's very, I think that Erin is, I think when I always like tease her, like something will happen and she'll go, oh, you're going to make me cry. And I'll be like, you know what I mean? And I just think there's such a bond, you know, with them two, you know, and she feels that. And so, in that moment, I felt like that's about as close as I got at that point. And then it's just gotten more.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I don't have any kids, but like, that makes total sense to be like, oh, you know, there are all these lives I interact with. This one I created.
Right. But it's not even like, like sometimes I just like, she'll be like walking across the room, something. And I'm just like, how'd you get here? Like, how did you get here? Like, how did you get to be this big? Like, how'd you start walking? Like, you barely couldn't do anything. And like, now you're walking. Like, it's really everything it's happening so fast that I can see how people would want to have more kids because they want to experience again because they weren't paying attention the first time. You know what I mean? Or you didn't have time to pay attention.
As a second child, I can say that's a good choice. Yeah,
right.
You do the first one and then you get it right on the second one.
Get your starter child and just like get him through.
Send him out the guinea pig, out the door.
And then the second one, like my brother, you want to make sure that you really take care of him. And don't worry about that first one. I'm just kidding.
Where
love
do you,
Mom and Dad.
So I'm going to interview you for a second. Where do you fit in? What as far as siblings? Like,
there's just me and my brother,
and the brother. So
I'm older.
You're just okay. You're older brother.
Yeah, and so we're 6 years apart.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so, did you feel like a real guinea pig, like growing up?
I don't remember it. I don't remember like that. My parents were real good at trying to make just everything as even as fair as possible, just show us the same amount of attention. You know what I mean? But we're different people. You know what I mean? And so we reacted to things differently and we acted differently. And so I think that, you know, was there a better plan? Maybe, probably not. You know what I mean? But it's a hard-working plan when you just have different kids. You know what I mean? And I think that every parent probably struggles with that.
Oh, yeah. Well,
do you know what I mean? Because it's hard to like, I don't know, say one of your kids is real outdoorsy, and so you like take him camping all the time, but the other one, like in the video games, you're like, well, I guess I can play with you here. Like, he gets to go camping. He gets to go somewhere. Like, can I go somewhere? You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, no, I'm just doing what he likes. I'm trying to do what you like. I'm not trying to like the likes that the equal likeness is the same. It's not the actual activity. It's that I'm doing something with you that y'all like to do.
Yes.
But that sounds very like I'm choosing.
But then from you, I guess you're trying to.
Because you're younger, right?
Yes, I'm.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm 28 for the record. And so you have these two kids and like, you can be like, oh, well, I'm treating them fairly, but I'm trying to get it to where from their perspective, they can see that I'm treating them fairly and they're growing and trying to understand, seeing people's perspectives and how this is all working. So that sounds very daunting to be like, well, let me treat them fairly, but then also let me try to express and communicate to them how I'm treating them fairly.
Right.
Yeah. And, you know, I make them understand it, which I think is impossible. Like who grows up thinking like, you know what? I got, you know, didn't get screwed over once. Everything was fair, right down the middle. We got it.
I mean, well, because like when you're a kid, you're finding your ego. Like they say that
you never stop.
Well, but they say that like, I could be messing this up, so don't quote me. But like when a baby can look in a mirror and recognize that that's them, because up to that point, they're just like, oh, there's another baby. At the point where they know it's them, that's when your ego develops. And it starts like from there. And so like, I've kind of just been like, what? I've been watching her when she goes to the mirror. I'm like, does she know that her? Like,
has she picked her out?
think so, but she's not very interested in looking at herself either. She's more interested in looking at you through the mirror, like looking in the mirror and looking out like at you.
Oh, interesting.
She's more interested in that.
That's a good sign that, probably not some early onset narcissism.
Early onset narcissism?
Yeah.
Is that like legit disease?
I just made it up. Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of people with early onset narcissism.
I actually have late onset narcissism, so.
Myself, I'm struggling with it now. Yeah. I like shingles. Oh, man. But yeah, I think that the greater part of kind of what we were saying is just like, in that group of guys, there's like no ego, right? And the lower you kind of keep, there's ego, but it's
there's ego, but like, and so you mentioned like having empathy for others, and like being like, oh, like this person's having a bad day, or I've had a bad day, this person's having a bad day, but like we've been around for the bad days, right? You know what I mean? Like, right. And so there's that closeness to there where we might have egos, but you can also see and bust right through them very quick for like the to connect, or like for the sake of a joke. Like it's just very, like, you can be very vulnerable with them.
Okay, so 2-part question.
Yeah.
Are you glad that you walked on at UT?
Absolutely, yeah.
Are you glad for the reason of what we're describing right now? Are you more glad for the actual, like, kind of being involved in, like, football? Like, I'm not trying to make you pick one.
Oh, no.
But I'm saying, like, basically what I'm getting at is, like, if you didn't have the experience you did with these guys, would football have felt like it was worth it as much? Is that fair?
It definitely wouldn't feel the same. And I remember being on the team, I had like this weird, I didn't want to be known as Logan the football player, because I was like, listen, I did the joke with you earlier. I was like, oh, I don't play football, I practice football for UT, and so I very much wanted to be known as, oh, that's Logan, he does engineering, he also plays football.
You want to be Myles Garrett?
Is that
Myles Garrett's like into art and like all this other stuff, and he's into poetry and stuff. He's like, I'm more than a football player. I'm like, you rip people's heads off.
you rip helmets off people's heads.
Yeah, and beat them with it. I mean, like, there's no like, and then what are you reciting poetry as you beat the poor guy?
So sorry, I'm trying to remember where I was going. Yeah, so I had like this compulsion of where like I kind of like kept it at a distance, like from like that pure like football experience. And looking back, I kind of wish I did kind of like taken more of like, this is UT, like I'm here, like some really cool like spaces I was in, but I don't think like I took that all in as much, because I was like trying to somewhat distance myself from it.
Why did you at that time, why did you want to distance yourself from it?
But because I did, and I still do have this compulsion to be like, I need to be seen as like, if not smart, like competent. And like, it's something like if I go into a room, I'm like, hey, I want people like, just like, don't think I'm an idiot. Okay. It's like, it probably stems from something in childhood, but I can catch myself where I'm like, I'm not going to.
It's similar to the thing of like being late. They're linked.
How so? Like from your perspective right now?
In the perspective of how you're receiving the message that you think's like being put out. Right. So like if, You don't want people to think you as Logan, the football player, because that would mean that like you're not smart, and you don't want people to think you as a person that's being late, because that would mean like you're a person that's late. Like it's like you're very aware of yourself, but in my opinion, not giving yourself enough credit for what you do. Like we're talking about things that you don't think you do well. There's probably a shit ton of stuff you do well, and probably like. To be honest, like being like you're probably good at that too. Like it seems like you got that under control. You're focusing on that. I was late once, or I'm late. Like you're focused on what about all the other shit? Like what about all the great shit? You know what I mean?
And taking that step back and being like, grand scheme, this tapestry of your life.
Yeah,
those little moments that you're worrying about. That it's not much. No, it's a little stitch right there. Can't even see it.
There's so many things in my life, like I think. In going through a divorce and then having a child and having it happen like pretty rapidly, it just like it gave me a whole different perspective on what matters and what doesn't. You know what I mean? Like there's only a few things that really matter. My girlfriend and my baby, like this house, my immediate family, my close friends. You know what I mean? And then whatever I can do for anybody that's outside of those circles. But like that's what matters. Like getting the wrong drink at Starbucks doesn't fucking matter. Like,
how often do you catch yourself like straying off from from that perspective?
I'm trying to think. God, what happened? Oh, I remember what it was. So, I didn't recognize this before. Like, I do have a little bit of like social anxiety. And I didn't recognize that before. I would get anxious in public, but I didn't recognize it. And so like just stuff with bad stuff. The night
You're
was
just like, I'm always tense.
Yeah,
This is
Like the
fine.
night would just go bad, right? And so then I went to a soccer game, one of the Austin soccer games, right? And we got there, and we were sitting in the section where they don't let you sit down. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
That's where they like shoot off. Like,
It's like on the south end. Is that right?
It's where people throw $10 beers, like when somebody scores a goal. And I'm like, that was $10, bro. You just threw that beer. That's a waste. Like, give it to me. What is it? And so anyway, so I was there, and I noticed myself getting anxious. And so the first thing I did was I was like, this doesn't matter. Like, this doesn't matter. Like, there's no reason to be, I'm talking to myself inside my head. There's no reason to be anxious. Like, they're just people. It's just,
Yeah.
But then you're going to go home tonight and it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter tonight. Like, it's not going to matter. Just stay.
And then do you ever have the realization where you're like, hey, you know how like you're kind of like just thinking about yourself? Most people are somewhat doing that too. They don't even notice you.
Yeah.
Like you're
nobody. You're nobody. And that's like when I talk about like no ego. Like I'm nobody to nobody. Like, I'm over here in my little world.
I catch myself getting very anxious about like I'm the classic guy who's like going to go up and order something. I'm like, I'm rehearsing it in my head. I'm like,
I do that.
I'm not. And then,
because you don't, hang on. Is it because you don't want to waste the time of the person that's taking the order?
And I also don't want to look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Boom. Both in one.
Hey, but have you ever heard other people order food?
Yes, I have.
I mean, so if you had to rank yourself, 1 to 100 of like where you are on the ordering food scale, well, you're probably in the top 10, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like
top 96th percentile, I have to say.
Wherever restaurant you're at, they're like, God, I'm so glad this guy had his shit together.
This guy was
prompt.
Mess up. He knew exactly what he was getting.
He did say white gravy and he meant brown gravy, but like,
he knew
everything else
exactly
was
how many
good.
sides came with the entree.
Yeah.
He knew the salad was extra. This guy did his research.
Did you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But it's like, they don't care.
I know. And
I understand it though, because I don't want to waste somebody's time either. But then I realized, like, this is back to that time. I realized I'm not that person. There's no reason for me to stress about what I'm going to order, because I can tell you before I pull up to that box, I'm going to know what to order, because that's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm that person. So why would I worry about it? Like, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. That's what you're going to do. You're going to do that whether you worry about it or not. You're going to do it.
So there's that confidence, like you can do the confidence to go in. But lately I've been taking the tactic of being like, you know what? That might be an awkward interaction. And guess what? You've had a few of those before. You're probably going to have a few after. Like, it's going to be okay.
I mean, did y'all have a Whataburger in Livonia?
We got one. I can't remember. Right as I was graduating, we got a Whataburger.
Okay, did you ever go there like past, I don't know, midnight or so? I mean, what did you see? Like, I mean, I'm sure.
I don't want to talk about the things I saw.
It's such dark. But I mean, there's a great example of poor ordering, like, going on. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, the people are wasted. I mean, like, and they're doing that inside cars too. It's the drive-through too. You know what I mean? So like, you're good. That's the way I look at it.
I should just hold myself to that standard of like Livonia, 1 a.m. Whataburger. Like, that's the standard Logan needs to be at.
You gotta be over that.
Yeah, that's all I gotta do.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess I just realized when we talk about like things that matter and things that don't, I realized stressing over things that I'm going to do anyway, there's no difference. So just why worry about it? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a person that doesn't pay their bills on time. I'm not a person that doesn't, color coordinate his closet. I'm not. I that's who I am. Like, I don't have to worry about a shirt getting out of color. They're all color. It's all done. Like, they're in color order. I'm not worried about it. You know what I mean? That's why I do it, is because I don't want to worry about it. So when I set 2 alarms, I go, I've set 2 alarms. Like, there's nothing to worry about. I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing to worry about. Like, now. if Benny Wiley was like, I was meeting him, I'd set like 15 alarms.
You call your friend and be like, you need to call me.
Yeah, I would be like somebody make sure I am up. I don't want to miss an interaction with this guy. Pissed. Does that make sense? Does that sound crazy?
No, that makes perfect sense.
So just do it.
All right, done. I'm fixed.
Well, I'm just, but like not being like, that is all it is.
It is all it is, and it's just
right. You just go from this point forward. I'm just going to do it like that. Like I'm just going to do it like. And when you catch yourself not doing it like that, go. That's not what I said. I said I was going to do it like this, and just do it because like, obviously like you work out and stuff like that, right?
Oh, thank you.
No, but I'm saying like you played football, like you're into health and like things like that, and you understand that's a long-term project. Like I mean, like we're in it for like the long haul, right? And it's really hard to get people to understand that in fitness. Does that make sense? Yeah,
I can understand how it's hard to express that to others.
I guess what I'm saying is like if I could just get them to change their mind, if I could just get them to flip the switch and understand that this is forever. Like, you know, like start thinking of it long term instead of thinking of like, I got to lose 5 pounds.
Well, and there's also understanding that like, oh yeah, by the way, like you have to keep doing it. So in the way that you're saying, well, you have to remind yourself to do this. It's not just like, oh no, like I knew it then and now I remember all the time. You have to keep reminding yourself to be like, hey.
Well, you have to catch yourself.
Yeah, you got to catch yourself. And I swear, like a couple of years ago, I got really good at it where I was just like, anytime I'd freak out, I'd be like, hey, in a year, is this like deadline going to matter? Are you going to like even think about, are you going to remember this moment in a year? And I'd be like, no, probably not. And I got really good at just like.
So what changed?
I guess maybe like, just that method just wasn't as effective. I need to figure something else out, a different key or something.
Like you figured yourself out.
Yeah. Where I was like, I know this curveball is coming.
I know Logan. Like, I know, like you're not. It's like
this fucker thinks, this guy thinks he's sly.
Yeah. Like cool Logan over here is trying to like, you know, just relax. And then like and
then I'm worried that my other persona thinks that I'm an idiot. Oh my God, this is levels.
So I'm going to assume that like cool Logan likes sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And engineering. And
well, but you know, like not cool Logan that likes engineering is the one that's getting mad at cool Logan.
Okay.
For like just blowing things, like just being like loosey goosey with like deadlines and rules and stuff.
Not angry, but like I'll definitely like get frustrated where I'm like if I miss something, I'm pretty hard on myself. Like, and I understand that. And like, you know, I understand that that's like, it's allowed me to be successful at the things I do. So like, it's, you know, like I don't just like, I'm like, ugh, like I'm so neurotic. I hate it. I also recognize like that neuroticism like helps me in a lot of ways.
Right.
And like my life is like, it's like working out. It's going to be this constant battle, like me trying to see it in the moment and, you know, try and harness it the best way I can.
Right. This is perfect. So usually, like how I've been like wrapping this whole thing up is, just talking about, what you do or asking people what they do, to create like, you know, moderation in their life, like to balance that. So, you know, you talked about, you have this one part of you that really like, you know, these deadlines and you're having to tell yourself like, hey, like it's cool. And so what do you do to help like keep that balance and keep yourself balanced?
Exercise is definitely like a go-to where, you know, it really is just what I found is like, if I stress about something, it's because I'm too close to it. I need to find something else to focus on. So like if you're working out, it's kind of hard to like think about other stuff.
Really quickly. Do you have like a, when I say a workout routine, do you have a pre and like post like workout routine? Like you kind of like, you got like a certain like drink, you eat a meal before, like talk about like what your process is to like go work out, not working out part. We know you're working out, right? But I would say that the before and after is important too, right? Or no?
My schedule's been like really hectic here lately. So I've just been like, hey, like just get yourself into the gym, just get inside the door. And then, you know, once I get there and then just find something to focus on. Yeah, I guess I don't have much of a pre-workout routine just because like I don't know necessarily where I'm going to be. I'm going to try and find a time to slip out and go work out. But
I think probably something good at what you're saying is like you go in there and you just try to get something in.
I just try to get into the door and I want to get in a flow state, focusing on getting through something. And then typically, you know, once I'm done with that, I'm like, oh, this stuff is actually small potatoes.
Yeah.
You know, it just, I just understand, and you know, and once again, it's something that like helps me a lot to like solve problems, but like I get too into it, and I got to step away and then come back to it.
Right. So you do a little bit of working out. What else do you do?
What do I do? I'll definitely
just do some like side math. Just like
do math.
Math.
I do a lot of like number sense for fun before I go to bed. No, honestly, like a big stressor for me is just like, or big stressor, a big stress alleviator for me is just like having conversations like this with friends. Just like that very much. Like I can't think about that stuff if I'm like focusing on you and like we'll talk about life and whatever and like and I try to be very like intent and focused on like what you're saying. That's very good for me to like kind of like break out of that other moment, focus on something else. Usually I'm able to take a step back afterwards and then continue on with life.
Right. So like kind of what I'm hearing you say is like you're taking these intentional pauses.
Yes.
Like you're taking intentional pauses and going like, hey, I'm going to evaluate this. Not make some rash decisions, not overreact. Like just try to like take it all in first before I make a decision.
Like my thought is like, you need to stop thinking about this. Like I have a lot of trouble going to bed at night because like I have to think about stuff, and I'm like, you just need to go think about something else, and that's honestly going to help you out with this problem.
Do you ever meditate?
I've tried. I'm not very good at it.
No, but do you understand? Do you understand why that makes sense that you're not good at it? Do you understand why?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. So do you understand why? Because you're so not good at it, that flexing that muscle will just make you good at it. It's just like working out.
Yeah, man.
Hey, but like as an example, like working out probably comes easy to you, right? That does not come easy to you, right? It's hard for you to shut your brain off like that. And so I look at it as like a personal chat. I'm like, oh, brain, you think you can get one on me? I got this. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. I look at it as like, I want to try to calm my brain down. Like, can I do that?
Whenever you do meditate, like, what is your method? Like, do you sit down and you're like, I'm just going to focus on my breath. And if I get off track, I'm just going to catch myself and come back, focus on the breath. Like, what is your method of meditation?
These are my current, and these are all not medically approved. Like, so,
not FDA approved.
No, I know.
Approved.
I mean, some people probably wouldn't call them meditation, but I'll tell you why it is for me. Right. So, I do Headspace, like regular meditation, just like the meditation app Headspace.
What? So I've heard about this app, but I've never like gotten into it.
So it's just, I think he's from Australia. But he just kind of like, he's like, close your eyes. Like he just like talks to you and you just do what he says. And it's like, they do like 10 minutes.
There has to be a foreign accent. Like you can't have like a dude from Louisiana be like,
no. Like his accent, like I haven't logged onto it in a while because I've just been doing other stuff, but, his accent makes it like you're just like, it's almost like he's a hypnotist.
I've noticed that. So I have like I do like down dog for like yoga, and like I'm like I have to go with like an English or an Australian accent. Yeah. I have to. I won't listen to an American lady tell me what to do.
You don't know anything about yoga. They know way more about yoga in England. What are you talking about?
They know so much more. Sorry, I interrupted you. Please continue with Headspace.
No. And so, but another thing that I like to do personally, and I'm not saying it's meditation, but it helps me. Okay. I like to put on headphones and listen to classical music and play Madden.
Like true classical music?
Yeah, like just Mozart or whatever.
And whenever, like, are you playing games in Madden or like we would always do like practice mode and just do random plays? Or what do you do?
So Madden is for me. Mm-hmm. It's for me only.
Yeah.
It's just for me. I grew up in the era of video games where you didn't like the only time you played with your friends if they came over to your house.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
you weren't like connected through the world.
And I was so OCD about my stuff. I probably never let anybody touch it or anything. You know what I mean? Like we just didn't play a lot of video games. We just didn't do that when we were kids. We're outside a lot. We're doing other stuff. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so video games were always for me. It was like kind of like my reading books or whatever. Right. And so, you know, now that everybody plays online, they play all these leagues and blah, 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 whatever. I still play old school, like franchise mode, pick one team and just try to run that shit into the ground. Like 30 years worth of, like, you know what I mean? Like just like Deshaun Watson retired 15 years ago, like, or whatever, you know what I mean? I just try to like, I just sit and it's weird because I don't hear the music. Like I don't hear the TV, but I don't hear the music.
Yeah,
it's just like, it's there. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's almost like it's just in your brain. Like it's just floating around in there. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but like it really helps me like calm my breath. And video games used to be something like I was one of those kids like I would turn it off if I was losing. You know what I mean? Like,
you're a sore loser.
Yeah, I was one of those pieces of shit. Mm-hmm. So then I didn't want to play anybody because I didn't want to lose and blah, blah, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I've told this story before, but like over the pandemic, like I realized just what a problem that is. Like I was still doing it. Like I would throw, 3 interceptions. And so I would just play the game over. Like that perfection of like, it has to be all perfect, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And so then just like over the pandemic and like, there's nothing to do and playing video games, stuff like that. I was like, I'm just going to make myself like, I don't give, if I throw 9 interceptions, you never get to turn the game off. You never get to turn it off. You never get to start over unless like, I was totally disrupted by the baby or like, the Xbox shut off like while I was doing stuff for the baby or, whatever. But like,
I like how you have like these exceptions unless this happens.
But they were very just like kind of like because it was kind of therapeutic for me to work through that problem.
Would you find yourself like while you're playing the game, like you're thinking about these other problems in your life and processing them? Or is it like a total like blank slate? Like I'm just focused on this and I don't think about anything else.
It was just like, it was like what you talked about, like just, putting everything off to the side for a moment. And I'm just going to do something that I'm very interested in. I'm fascinated by football and plays and the way they work and what works against what defense. And like, I don't even totally still understand it, but like, so over the pandemic, this is going to sound like crazy, but like, and anybody that plays Madden probably will laugh, but this was my journey. So I don't care. I would, turn off the games, blah, 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 whatever. Couldn't stand like any kind of mistakes, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Fumbles are fine for some reason. I don't know why. I don't like cool. that the interceptions are on my record. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
wait, because you personify yourself as the quarterback?
I think, like I want like I want the statistics. I want the 300-yard game with the 4 touchdowns. I want the 100 yards rushing with the 2 touchdowns. Like I want the game for each one of my players. I know what you're talking
about.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And so I'm the guy that would like turn it off, whatever. And I was also the guy, like, I didn't play anybody on defense other than a defensive end. That's the only position I played.
I played defensive ends. Like I would only play D ends.
But the only reason I played D end is because I couldn't control those other dudes. Like I didn't know how to play.
You didn't know you didn't know like the scheme of like the play.
I didn't understand the scheme. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand where to be and what to do and like how to like do. I didn't understand it, and like so I just never did it. And I would do it and always get burned. So I was like, oh, not playing linebacker anymore or whatever, right? So over the pandemic, I just told myself, you're gonna play every defensive position. You're gonna never turn off a game. You're going to, I don't give a shit. You throw 9 interceptions in one game. Well, you shouldn't have fucked up. Like, I mean, you are going to just play this game straight through just without any reason to stop. Don't make any excuses for stopping. Just play it straight through.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. In the beginning, it was painful. It was painful.
This is like the best metaphor for life, where you're just like put yourself in awkward situations that you're not used to and just handle it.
And I don't want to say that like Madden like changed my life,
but that's exactly what you're saying.
But what it did do is I took this because I do that in other aspects of my life. That's not the only place that I would do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's always that person that only plays games that they know they can win, right? Like everybody knows that guy. Like and I was kind of that guy. You know what I mean? And so when I became okay with losing or poor stats or whatever else it was like, oh, it doesn't matter.
Oh, it's fine. Like,
it doesn't like no, like
the roof isn't breaking down. Like everything's fine.
Do you know what really like pushed me over the edge? I've been playing Madden since it like first came out. Like I'm that old, right? And I was thinking about like the perfect statistics and what that looks like. All this fucking shit. And at one point I go, I literally can't remember any stats from any season of any game I've ever played. Ever. All I can tell you, this is the highlights. It's like I played one time with Cam Newton and he was still in Carolina. I threw like 6 touchdowns and like ran for 2. Like it was amazing. But like, I mean, that's the only thing I really remember. I don't remember anything else about that. So like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just do it. Just play it like through. Let life happen as if it was actually happening. No, you don't get to stop and pause life or go, let me do that over or whatever. Just do shit.
And understand that there's like no stat keeper. Like we were talking about, like like your percentile, like ordering stuff. Like no one's keeping track. Like it's fine. Like you're doing it for the sake of the experience, and and then it's over.
And I would say on some level, okay, so you feel like that you took too long to order. I don't know, whatever else goes through your head. Like, and I'm not
stuttered.
or whatever. I'm not making fun of it because I do those similar things. And then you go, well, look, if I just go up to the window and I'm genuinely nice, that person's probably not going to care no matter what I did. If I roll up to the window and I'm an asshole about stuff, they're going to care more about that, about you being a jerk, than ever what you ordered.
Yeah.
I mean, like someone could order something perfectly and come out the window and go, you suck, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they're going to determine their overall experience, and those one moments don't really matter. I mean, so incredibly small, right? But for some reason,
but we just magnify them in our heads, like in this initial moment. And then, like you said, us ourselves, like we throw that shit out. Like we don't remember that, like those awkward interactions. I guess we remember some, but for the most part, like we just kind of like throw it out and then move on. And then we get stressed out again, forgetting that we just threw all the old shit out. Like we're not still keeping track of all these awkward interactions and everything that we go through.
I mean, just think of it this way. You could have easily had interactions with people that you didn't view to be awkward.
Yes.
But they might have been like, man, that guy's awkward as fuck.
That terrifies me.
But it doesn't matter. Like because that's just their perspective. That's their perspective in that moment. They're making it's a super snap judgment of that person. And unless something extraordinary happens, it's going to be in and out like so fast that they're not even going to care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They'll probably move on with their lives.
Yeah. I mean, although there was a girl that she works at the gas station down the street, and every time I go there, I go, hi. And she would go, hi. And then one day she just goes, you have really good hair. And I was like, oh, thanks. She goes, I noticed the first time you came in. I was like, oh, really? Well, that's really nice. I was like, you have good hair too. Because she was a black girl. She had it all like braided like nice. And I was like, you have good hair too. She's like, you have a good day. I was like, you have a good day. But I never noticed that. Like, I never thought that she would even notice. And it's kind of it just like, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that like, things that you don't think are interactions, or things you don't know that are going to happen. You don't know. So like it doesn't.
Things that aren't even on your radar affect people, and it can affect people in a profound way.
Right. That you don't even know, but you're worried about these other things that you think you will know, assuming that they're going to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, I think a lot of people are kind of guilty of worrying about things that could or might or possibly happen, and not just appreciating everything that's happening.
Yeah, well, it's, bringing it back, just being in the moment. Just
right.
Going, oh, well, it's happening. So isn't that awesome?
Right. Like, and I think the misconception of like when people like being in the moment, and you can back me up on this or whatever,
or I can fight you on it.
Violently disagree. Is that like you can be in the moment and look a little bit forward and know like this is going to be my week and this is going to be my month and this is kind of my goals and my plans and stuff like that. And then you can look at the past and go like, oh, like I probably shouldn't have done that. I should change that. And I should really try to eat better. And I was whatever.
Yeah. Being in the moment doesn't mean being oblivious to the future or the past.
Right. Like you can have, but you want, the problem is a lot of people don't have the middle. Like, you know what I mean? They're too far in the future. They're too far. They're worrying too much in the future. They're stuck too far in the past. Right. Mm-hmm. So like, don't worry about the future and the past. They're going to be there. Like, try to get yourself to the middle. Does that make sense?
No, I think that's a pretty good way to put it.
And actually, I think that most people, it's hard. It's harder to be in the middle. It's way easy to be on like the opposite ends of shit. Like,
for sure.
Because everybody on the opposite end, like, yeah, we're all here. Like, hey, nice to meet you. Somewhere in the middle, you're meeting people as they pass through the two ends. You're meeting people that stop and go like, hey, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Yeah. You're like, oh, where'd you come from? The middle is, but like that's where all the magic happens.
Yeah, it's like you're just looking down the road, just seeing down the road, but you're not seeing the people you're passing as you go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. You're just being, and like I think there's a lot to like I think I said before, like with my daughter, there's a lot to appreciate about life, and there's a lot to appreciate about the life we have here.
Oh yeah, it's great here.
Yeah. I don't want to live anywhere else, United States wise, right? And then like I'm cool staying in Texas, And I'm still pretty cool staying like here. Like I'm cool in Austin.
It's a great spot. So like I finished up college with my buddy Peyton, and like we kind of looked around and we're like, this place is pretty great.
Yeah.
You know? It's hard to convince myself to necessarily go somewhere else right now.
I did have a guy on my podcast, and he opened up a pizza place in Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
Yeah, he said it's like amazing. So now I want to go. So now I'm like, yeah. Let's go.
So you mentioned that you started traveling as you got older. Like, what's another place that's like on your list you want to check out?
I want to go to Budapest.
Yeah,
yeah. And then I really want to go to Russia. And anybody who knows me knows Tom, and so Tom's going to take me to Russia sooner or later.
Okay. Where in Russia do you want to go?
I'm just going to, like, he does business over there, like top secret business, apparently. I'm just kidding. It's not top secret. But I'm just going to have him take me to places, like, cause he's been there so much. Like, and like, I want to go.
And that's also less stressful for you. We're like, dude, like,
well, yeah, it's like this is his backyard. So why am I going to, I'm going to do exactly what he says.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm the kind of person, like, if I get a tattoo, like I'm trusting you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is your job. This ain't my job. So at the end of the day, if I make a suggestion, you go, I don't think that'll work, or whatever else it is, like, I'm trusting you. Like, I'm not going to argue with you.
You're the expert here.
Yeah, you're the expert here. And I try to do that in every aspect of my life. As far down as the going, like, oh, well, I'm going into a gas station. This is where this person works. They're the gas station attendant. I'm not. They're the expert here, so I'm going to treat them with that respect, and just approaching people like that. It's not that hard. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's essentially just being nice, like just not thinking you have to know everything or you know more than everybody, or just losing. You know, like, you got to lose your ego a little bit. I keep saying that, but it's like it's really become profound, especially in like having my daughter. Just like she doesn't. I can see that. I mean, she doesn't care if you're tired.
I mean, to see someone like in the process of like getting an ego, that it makes sense that you'd have like these thoughts of evaluating your own and like where that fits in your life.
And I think about I think about how to keep hers low, but not in a mean way. No, not in a negative, in a positive way.
No, but like I mean, people have like this connotation like an ego is always a bad thing.
No, it's a good thing. You have to have it.
An ego is it's how you can identify yourself. It's the only way that you could,
differentiate yourself from other people.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And to do good things, to identify yourself as a good person, to try to do good things. If you have, I guess, if you take it to the wrong route of narcissism, then an ego is a bad thing. And I saw like a random Instagram post, and it was like,
did it have like a girl and was like a long book underneath it, like that she wrote like 4 or 5 paragraphs, and then she was like, "Have a good day." No, okay.
No, it wasn't that one. It wasn't. It was the other. It was called "If You Give a Human an Ego." It was like a play on "If You Give a Mouse a Cookie." It was going through. It was like, well, like then they're going to be aware, and they're going to want a purpose, and they're going to want a narrative. And that word kind of stuck with me of how like we do kind of like affix like this thought of a narrative to our lives. You know what I mean? Like we want significance in the things we do. We want there to be meaning, and it's something that like propels our story forward. And that's not necessarily like a bad thing. Like, it's just kind of like, I think it's just how humans are. Is that making sense, or is that landing?
Yes. Have you seen Jim versus Andy, or Andy versus Jim?
No,
it's on Netflix.
What is this?
It's and I think I've talked about it before. It's when Jim Carrey played Andy Kaufman in Man on the Moon, and they recorded.
Oh, this is like the documentary about the making of the movie?
Right.
Okay.
And basically, in a nutshell, he used like the idea of Andy Kaufman to just do whatever he wanted, right? And it stripped away like a lot of like the fear and with people, and like you'd have to hear him explain it, but it's kind of this beautiful.
Was it like the fact he's like, well, I don't have to be myself, so that means like I'm not accountable to like have to uphold myself.
You were talking about like before I do the podcast, like what's my process and getting ready for the podcast. It's kind of like this is the spot where I get to kind of be like boisterous and loud and say dumb things and stuff like that. Like this is where I kind of just let my ego go, because I know it really doesn't matter like all that much. You know what I mean? But like, this is not like when I'm being like that, like I'm just trying to make people like, that's not me. Like I'm pretty reserved.
Isn't that weird though? Where you're like, that's not like me. And like, you have like this, I think about this a lot where
it's like cool Logan.
Well, yeah, you're like cool. You have these different like personifications, and I've kind of like I've had thoughts about this where I'm like, sometimes like I'm talking to people, I'm making jokes, like I'm able to talk to anyone. Other times I can't do that, And, other times, like, I want to do like these math problems at home.
But I think what you're saying there is that you're recognizing there's times where you don't want to do that.
I think it's just recognizing that, like, whenever it just seems like almost silly to me to be like, to pick one of those, be like, oh, that one's the actual me. They're all different versions of you, or there's some string between all of them that is consistent.
Yeah, it's like it's what makes up the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, ego's not just like one thing. It's a bunch of things, right? But I think what's great about kind of what you're saying is that, or what I think I'm hearing you say is, like, if you don't want to do something, like, you don't like necessarily force yourself to do it. Just go like, hey, I'm not going to go today, or like, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's like whenever, like, someone will come up to me and be like, hey, like, do you want to go out? You always love going out. And I'm just like, actually, I don't want to do that. Like, that's not my persona today. And like, people will be like, oh, he's not being himself. It's like, well, the big question, who is myself?
Right. But I mean, in actuality, like, you couldn't be more of yourself.
Yeah.
When you set that kind of boundary and go like, hey, like, I don't want to go today. Like, I had a hard time with that. Like, just, everybody asked me to do everything and doing all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I was like, you know what? Like, if I don't want to do something, I'm just not going to do it. Like, and not in a mean way. It's just like, wow. So,
and whenever you say no, like, do you have like this paranoia of like, oh, like, I might like let them down? You know what I mean? Like you're worried that like they'll be disappointed that you're not going, or.
Yeah. I mean, and and like, people have expressed that they were disappointed,
mm-hmm.
and it makes me sad that they're disappointed, but I'm not sad enough to sacrifice my own happiness for them to be happy in that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
And that means something to me. That has value to me.
Yeah.
And that's not like people, I could see how somebody would view that as being like mean. It's not mean. It's literally like, don't you want me to be happy? So if you know it'd be tough for me, or I don't want to do it, then like you would understand that like that doesn't make me happy. And I think you would want me to be happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, not even that. Like, honestly, like that's a true show that you respect them to be like, hey, this is how I honestly feel.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I'm being, in a sense, vulnerable with you, admitting like, I'm just not up for it today. I'm sorry. I'm not going to make it.
Right.
And I'm trusting you. I'm being vulnerable with you that you're going to accept that. It's going to be okay.
Right.
We're closer now.
Well, and, hey, friends of those kinds of people,
mm-hmm.
Treat them like a friend. They're coming to you. Honestly, that's hard for them. It's that type of person. It's hard for them so like, instead of making them feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Right. Just go like, yeah, it's cool, man. Like, it's cool. Like, I'd love to have you there. It's cool. You know what I mean? But I think people, again, they make it about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you're not coming to my party. And it's like, well, yeah, but at the same time.
Yeah, I'm not. But
technically, I'm not. But like, you wouldn't want me to be miserable at your party, would you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like, I just don't have time to do that to my friends. You know what I mean? I want you to be here, but if you have something else or you can't, then I told her, fine.
Like, and kind of like I said, like, man, like being like if someone tells me like, hey, I just really don't want to go. Like, I may be struggling with something, or like, I'm just not up for it. Like that response that you wanted, where I'd be like, oh, well, like, thank you for sharing that with me. Like, that's great. I totally understand. Like, I've been there, and I don't know, just, I find that very beautiful. Like if you can like, just be totally honest, just vulnerable about how you feel about something, knowing that it might disappoint them. Like, I think that just like, that should bring you closer.
It's my, and I always say this, it's my steroids and baseball theory. We forgive the guys that admitted they took steroids, but the guys that won't admit it, we're just like, yeah, we hate Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, we hate you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But there's guys, in my assessment, Alex Rodriguez might have been the worst of them all. And he just said, I was sorry. And then like, everybody's like, oh, cool. Do you want to work baseball tonight? And do you want to get married to Jennifer Lopez? And do you want to, like, it was just like, it's like, everything's good. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Where do you stand on Pete Rose?
Do we really believe, and I got to wrap this up soon.
Oh,
yeah. Like, this just proves that like, you'll have to come back and do another one.
Oh, please. I'd love to. This has been great. I love this.
So like, that's all I'll say about that.
All right.
If Pete Rose didn't bet on his own team, which I assume that that's the case, but I don't know if I 100% believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, you know what I mean? He was betting on his team to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, and I guess I should rephrase, like if he was betting on his team to lose, or we'll just say like he didn't bet on his own team, did he?
From what I understood is that, well, maybe like that's just me. I like Pete Rose, so I've always been like, oh no, he only bet on himself, on his team to win. Is that not the case?
Probably so.
Okay.
I don't know a whole lot.
In which case, and if that is the case, I'm like, what's the problem here?
Well, I mean,
sorry, we're getting off subject with the baseball, but I was just curious about what you said with Pete Rose.
So I mean, like, have you ever seen a documentary on like the '86 Mets? Like basically everybody on the team was doing coke. I mean, like it's like, so what are we talking? I mean, like baseball has had like just messed up stuff happen. Like, they had steroid, blah, blah, blah. And probably a lot of these guys got in, but like, just let him in at this point. What does it matter?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just like, so he has to sign autographs in Vegas? Like, is that the only reason we won't limit him Hall of Fame? Is like just to punish him? Like, the poor guy. I mean, every time I go to Vegas, he's signing autographs every single time. He's always wearing a white Cincinnati, but it's all white. Like with the C all white, and he's wearing a button-down shirt. It's always too big. It's untucked, and it's like long on his hands, and then pants. Like every single time. I'm not even making that up. And ask anybody that's seen Pete Rose in Vegas, that's exactly what he looks like.
All right, I believe you.
Yeah, there's probably pictures of him on the internet.
I'm gonna look them up as soon as we leave here. But your main point is man, if you're just like honest and vulnerable about how you feel, or even a fuck up, like for the most part, people forgive you. Like time is like this huge healer.
Well, me and a buddy got in an argument, and he was on the podcast earlier, and basically in a nutshell, I fucked up. So I just told him, I was like, hey man, I fucked up. And he kind of like yelled at me. And I was like, I get it. Like, I shouldn't have done that. And so I was like, hey, take as much time as you need. I would love to stay friends. Like, you know what I mean? But I understand if you don't want to do that either, I would be upset. So, and then 3 days later, we're like hanging out again. You know what I mean? And he said that meant a lot to him. It meant a lot to me to just like do it. Excuse me. But like, that was way easier than like fighting my ego around that I didn't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
Way easier. Super easier. And like listening, like just try listening. Just everybody out there, try listening. Just try it. Like, it's so amazing how much more successful you can be at communication if you stop worrying about what you need to say and listen to the other person and try to process it and try to get to where they are.
Yeah,
and you can't shove information down people's throats. They just don't like it.
I wouldn't even stop at the word listening. I'd say just start noticing.
Yeah. Just being aware, being present. You know what I mean?
It all circles around.
Yeah, like it's weird how that works, right? That it's all kind of interconnected like that. But that's kind of the human experience on some level, right? Like
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, like you think about like tribes and things like that, how they all work together as like a community. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Is that hard? Is that hard? Is that hard? Everybody just get along. So,
Preach.
Well, good time. You have a good time.
I've had an awesome time. Please, if you feel like you want to invite me back, I'm an absolute yes.
Oh yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Oh, really quickly, like right before we go, since it's been like probably like 2 hours or something. I don't think it's been 2 hours. It's been a while though. You said that you started a podcast where y'all reviewed Disney, what kind of movies?
Oh, Disney Channel original movies.
Disney Channel original movies. So,
yes.
Like, give me an example.
So, like Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, Brink, Xenon. Okay. Xenon the sequel.
So, just for everybody out there, what did you rate is the best? Was it
the best decom movie of all time?
Yes,
hands down is Brink.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this at all?
Can I give a quick synopsis? Will you give a quick synopsis?
Oh, pretty much it's like a rollerblading coming of age story. Boom.
Is there anybody famous in it? Like
not that I can remember. He was like the heartthrob in The Princess Bride. No, sorry, not The Princess Bride, in The Princess Diaries with Anne Hathaway. I'm screwing up my movies terribly. There's a hunk in there. Check it out.
But anyway, Brink. Mm-hmm. If we're gonna watch one, that's the best one.
That's the best one by far. Okay. It's amazing. It's if you watched it growing up, the wave of nostalgia is totally worth it. Recommend.
There you go. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate it. Let's get over here. Give me a quick.
Of course.
We'll hug this out.